What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the channel. We are doing a Dynasty Trades Edition episode, and what we like to do on these episodes is kind of go through some of the values that we're seeing. Now, instead of having a themed episode where I usually dive through like veterans or rookies or however the case may be, we're just going to go over values. Things that I'm seeing right now in Dynasty Leagues are kind of dead, but there are trades being happening right now, and we're starting to see kind of trades moving. We're going to also look at how they're being valued: early first, mid first, late first. What players could you get one off, right? And by one off, I mean 101 for this player only. We're not talking about add-ons. We're not talking about any of that. Where is those values going? Either based on actual dynasty trades that I've seen, or just rankings out there that you can kind of take a look at and crowdsource a little bit. Then we're going to be going into each position, trades that I like, values that I see, and my favorite buy right now in the offseason will be at the end. So stick around for the whole video of guy that I think you should go out there and try to grab right now, because I think there is a value there. So we're going to dive into trades. We're going to start, though, with our early first and where they're getting valued. So when we're thinking early first, we're thinking 101 to 103-ish, maybe 104, right? So when we're thinking of 101, though, I'm thinking Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. We had some questions in our Patreon about Bijan Robinson straight up for the 101. I lean quarterback, but I do think that when there's context, right? If you have two legit quarterbacks, you're a contender, you want to add that piece. Bijan is the running back one in Dynasty, and him and Gibbs right there, right? So another guy like that is Breece Hall. What are you willing to give up? The 101, 102 for a running back, which I think in Dynasty is really not the way that people are building their teams right now, but those are deals that are being had. Sam Laporta and tight end premium. If I get a 104, would you re-roll and get Bowers, or would you re-roll and try to go get a quarterback if you need it? If you're looking at that tight end position, this is probably Laporta's ceiling right now in terms of his ranking. Puka Nacua, absolutely just been crushing it, right? If you want to re-roll, maybe go get a dynasty quarterback, whatever the case may be, this is the time to go grab it. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Christian McCaffrey, I think, is the interesting one. He's probably worth more than one first, but his value, I mean, the expected dip is coming. So maybe you move off of him, right? Or if you have an early first and you're a contender, this is the time to go buy CMC and go grab him. Now, mid-first right now, you're looking at Zay, Flowers, Drake London, Pittman, JSN, Ken Walker, T. Higgins. Those guys are going for your 105 to 108 straight up, right? A lot of people are pivoting from JSN up for that 107, 108 value. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Flowers, London, those guys. Walker is an interesting piece. When you think of dynasty running backs, I still have him in my top 8. But, with the way the running back position is getting devalued, maybe a little early for a mid-first. Maybe if you want to pivot off of Walker, that's where their values are. And then we have our late first. And these are the fun ones. You have a lot of those veteran running backs: White, Barkley, Pacheco, Jacobs, guys. And I call White a veteran, but like in terms of value, right? White is an interesting one. Top 5 in points per game. But do we believe Tampa's going to roll him back with nobody else kind of getting in that running back room? We don't know where Barkley's going. We don't know where Jacobs is going. Pitts is still in there as that late first. Now that Arthur Smith's not going to be there, do we value him higher? Jaden Reed as well. Like, what are we doing with Jaden Reed in that Packers offense that you kind of want a piece of now with the way Jordan Love is playing? But what piece, I think, is the question mark. Now, what we're going to be doing is I want to dive into kind of the trades and what we're looking at. We're going to start with quarterback trades first. So, I went through kind of values. So we're going to go through tiers, like top tier, middle tier, bottom tier guys, and look at some of the values out there. Lamar, Joe Mixon for Kyler Murray and Breece Hall. I think that's a smash deal for the Kyler Murray side. So I think that's where Lamar is getting valued a little too high for me, where I think him and Murray, are very close. If I can get Breece Hall on top of that, I'm definitely doing that. I'm not buying Joe Mixon right now, so that's an interesting kind of piece for someone to move or to buy. Next one, Herbert and a chain for Jalen Hurts. I like the Herbert side. I think Herbert's getting underrated right now. If I can get draft or get a top 7 back in the process, which I know a chain's a little shaky because of his injury history, but again, this is where that value plays, right? Where you can kind of get more on that other end. Jordan Love for Bijan Robinson actually happened, which is crazy to think about. But Jordan Love is balling right now. Top 8 dynasty quarterback. I think he's getting drafted as such. I think the recent mock that we're doing right now, he got drafted at the turn at the 201. I think QB8, QB9 in that range. Man, that's an interesting deal. I think it's fascinating. But if Jordan Love is your QB3 or 4 and you have 2 top guys already, maybe you pivot off of that to Bijan, right? But I think it's a fascinating deal there. Garrett Wilson and Joe Burrow for CJ Stroud in a second. Now, after what we saw CJ Stroud in the playoffs, I still, with Wilson there, I think that the value is on the Wilson Burrow side. I think the production probably is. But if you can get a wide receiver in that second round where you're really excited about, I like the CJ Stroud side. He's my QB3 right now. Burrow, though, is still a top 5 QB in my mind. So, again, I like both sides here. I think the risk is obviously on the Stroud side because the piece for the second, you don't know what it is. It's like that box. It's that mystery box. But Garrett Wilson, Joe Burrow, interesting that you can kind of pivot off there. Next one is Josh Allen for Anthony Richardson, the 105 and a first, right? I like this deal for both sides, but the AR side's rebuilding, getting that top 5 because I really want to be in that top 5, the neighbors kind of area there, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and get another first for Josh Allen. I love it. Trevor Lawrence, David Montgomery for Jordan Love and Dawson Knox. Again, there's a big contingency out there that says that Jordan Love is better than Trevor Lawrence in Dynasty. If you like Trevor Lawrence, this is the time to go get something else, right? Now, I don't love the Dawson Knox. Monty's a fine piece. He's a running back 2/3. But the way Love is getting valued right now, you might be able to get some plus there for Trevor Lawrence. That might be the way you go. Now, next one, Deshaun Watson is at an all-time low in terms of value. He's going for Tyjae Spears, Rashee Rice in a second. If you need a quarterback and you think that he can bounce back next year, that's it. The problem with the market for Watson is that nobody wants him on the team. Nobody's trading for him. No one's trading off of him. So there's a depreciated value just because nobody likes him, right? Bryce Young for Michael Pittman. This is your chance maybe to get out of Bryce Young if you don't believe in him. Superflex, I still take Bryce, but I get it. Pittman, had a great year. Points per game, I think he was wide receiver 15, 16. That's the area there. Stafford is second for Gabe Davis and Deebo Samuel. This is where you build and you say, hey, Stafford's going to come back next year. I'll take that second, re-roll Gabe Davis. So this is really Stafford is greater than Deebo. And I think so. I think that if you need a quarterback in a super flex and you're looking at a guy that you can kind of rebuild around, you get to ship off Davis. That's the price you pay for having Davis on your roster. You're going to also have to give up Deebo, right? Now, as far as running backs go, so there's some interesting deals here for running backs that, I wanted to kind of dive into. Jahmyr Gibbs for Puka Nacua. Straight up, hey, I'm going to grab there. I like both sides. I love me some Gibbs in this channel. But Puka is an interesting one because I think he's a top 5 wide receiver now in Dynasty. Most people will build through that wide receiver position. I think that you have some flexibility though, because if you have Puka, he's probably, he's obviously ascended to one of your best wide receivers, but you might have some leeway where you have some pretty good wide receivers built up. I like Gibbs. I think Gibbs has a challenge at running back 1 spot. This is a base pick your poison. Like I like both guys here. It really depends how your roster is built. Bijan Robinson, Rashee Rice for Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is an interesting one. I see a lot of deals going for Jamar Chase here. This is a very fair deal, I think, when you're looking at running back 1 to wide receiver 2 overall, right, in Dynasty. Then you get Rashee Rice added in there. If you think Rashee's going to continue to grow in that offense, be the number 1 for Mahomes, I'm not saying to get rid of Chase because I would still lean Chase here, but I think it's fair, right? Breece Hall for Rachaad White in the 104. Again, this is just, hey, I can get in the top 4. I'm looking at Drake, Jaden, Malik, Marvin Harrison Jr. if I can pivot somehow to get up to 102, right? In that range, like, okay, I'll take that. I still like Breece in this instance, but really does also come down to roster construction. Then we have Ken Walker straight up for the 108. Like I mentioned earlier, that's where his value is basically at. Travis Etienne for Zay Flowers in a 201. So this is where you look at it and you think Zay is going to continue to ascend. Now, as far as like Zay's value, I'm probably lower on Zay than most when you're looking at just overall in terms of like dynasty ranks. I think he's around, in that 24 range to 20. I like Etienne as a top 10 guy. This is the way I look at this. You'd expect Zay to be in the top 15 wide receivers next year, and then you can get a running back at the 201. That's where I would lean if you're looking at that. I still think Etienne is the value side and the better player in this deal, so that's where I'd go. James Cook, 301 for Drake London. James looks fine with Buffalo Bills. He's a very solid running back too. I still think here you're buying Drake London because he's has upside with Arthur Smith going away and hopefully a quarterback upgrade. Then we have my favorite buy, not the one I'm talking about later, but my favorite buy, Isaiah Pacheco. For Roschon in a second, I don't mind getting that for Isaiah. I like Isaiah from a running standpoint, from a veteran standpoint. Late second, I'm willing to give that. I like Roschon, but we don't know a lot of the things that's going on in that Bears offense. We have no idea what's happening at the quarterback spot. And so not a bad pivot there. Brian Robinson, Michael Mayer, thought that was an interesting deal. I think Robinson's kind of going undervalued right now because I do think he's going to have a defined role. Whoever comes in there, I think he's going to have a defined role for next year. I like Mayer as well. But again, are buying tight ends? I don't know. Keaton Mitchell, a 3rd for Chase Brown. I like both. I like Chase, though, a little bit more. I don't like buying guys off the injuries like Keaton Mitchell. I don't think you're really buying low or high here. I think it's very appropriate value, but I would definitely like Chase Brown in that deal. All right, let's go over to wide receivers because these get a little fun here in this value. Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua, I already mentioned that one. Garrett Wilson for DK Metcalf in the 201. I like Garrett Wilson on that side. Smash Garrett Wilson. I'm going to take him here. I'm buying upside. I think he's still a top 5 wide receiver in Dynasty. A.J. Brown for the 105. This is the time to pivot off of A.J. Brown. I think it's time. I think Devonta's getting better. I think he's going to kind of shoot up value. I think that offense is struggling. A.J. Brown's getting a little older. The injuries have piled up. If you can pivot to the 105 to get a guy like Malik Neighbors, I think you have to do it. Then you have Jalen Waddle, Cole Kmet, 204 for Kittle on the 104. I still like the Waddle side here. I understand Kittle is Kittle. 104, you're still getting their top 5 asset. But Waddle, Kmet, and the 204, fun there. Fun right there diving in there. Brandon Ayuk for the 107. So Ayuk's kind of going that same range there. If you want to re-roll your first, go get Ayuk. This could be the time. Devonta, 204 and the 304 for JSN and 108. I like the JSN and 108 side because JSN and Devonta's gap to me is very close. Then I get a top 8 pick, which is kind of sitting outside the tier that I necessarily want to be, but I get more value from that 108. If I'm sitting in the rookie draft and someone comes up and someone slips down, right, Drake May or maybe Roma Dunze or someone like that, then I have some bargaining chips. So I can still move that pick. So I would lean that side there. And then we have Nico Collins for Kyren Williams. 2 dynasty assets nobody's ever talked about. We're like, oh my gosh, now these guys are top 10 guys. To me, I'm leaning Nico, the wide receiver, as always. Especially with Kyron's injury history, they're going to bring somebody in. They have to kind of get rid of that usage that he's been seeing. I would probably lean Nico there. London 107 for Michael Pittman and Mark Andrews. Fun deal here. I think Drake is ahead of Michael Pittman for me. 107 is ahead of Mark Andrews, but I understand if you want to kind of lean tight end premium and go with Mark Andrews there. The way I look at this deal is Pittman Andrews is the ceiling. London and 107, or excuse me, the floor, kind of like getting that guy. Well, London 107, though, is that ceiling play. And then Hubbard and Kirk for Devontae Adams. I think Devontae is going to be an interesting buy for contenders this year. Go out and try to divide Devontae if you're a contender. I think that's a really good play there. All right, let's get into tight ends here. Everybody loves talking tight ends, so let's talk about them, and then we'll get out of here with my favorite buy. Kyle Pitts for Kyren Williams is going on right now. Tight end premium. What are you in on Pitts? I think it's fun because Kyron's probably a top 7 running back in Dynasty. He's also probably a massive sell. I think you can get Kyle Pitts plus, though. I don't think you just have to sell for Kyle Pitts. I think you can get added. I would try to get Kyle Pitts in a second. If I can do that, I'd probably move Kyren Williams for that. TJ in a second for Rashee Rice. Again, I think Rashee is definitely assuming, rising up draft boards, good value there. Trey McBride, Jonnu Smith, and a third for Puka and Brevin Jordan. This is one of those things in tight end premium when you're looking at it. Trey is ascending. I don't really care about Smith in the third. Then you have Puka. Brevin is Brevin. He's not going to be anything more than he'll have a couple catches here and there. It's like, oh, that's that guy that was good. I still lean Puka in this deal. But you get that in a second. You get rid of Smith and add maybe an auxiliary wide receiver, a 3 or 4. Might be a little bit more interested in that one. Then we have David Njoku for Michael Mayer, Rashid Shaheed. I like that side. I think Njoku is getting slept on. I think it tied in premium. I like both this deal here, but I'd probably lean Mayer and Shaheed because I think Shaheed he's kind of a sleeper out there in dynasty value. Ferguson for Alec Pierce in a 206, 406. Give me Fergie. I'm all over the Ferguson train here as a Dallas fan. Cole Kmet for Quentin Johnson in the 205. If you need a tight end, if you want to pivot off of Johnson and give up the 205, I don't think Cole Kmet's a bad bet, especially if they get an upgrade at the quarterback position with Caleb Williams there. So either way, if you want to buy on Quentin Johnson, that's fine. 205 is probably a perfect value back for him there. Now, I want to go through my last buy here as we get into this of the kind of January season. JSN, baby. I'm talking about him again. 93 targets, 63 receptions. Didn't see the total package with him. Seahawks, big value move, though. Head coach is gone. Carroll is gone. Who are they going to bring in? Where is that value going to be? I think we could be looking at a scenario where Tyler Lockett isn't there anymore. I think we're looking at JSN could be the wide receiver one in the Seahawks in November. And I think he's a value right now. He is getting hated on by everybody out there, right? Keep Trey Cut, wide receiver 20. Football guys, wide receiver 24. TDR, wide receiver 15. Like when you're looking at us, we value him much higher than when, other sites do. So at wide receiver 15, where he's getting valued at, I'm all aboard. I am JSN for 107. I would rather have JSN than Rome Odunze. I know people are going to say that's blasphemous out there, but right now I wouldn't mind re-rolling that. And I actually think you can get plus on the JSN side right now for the 107. And that's where I would go. That's where I lean, because I think he is one of the more talented wide receivers in the league. JSN for Brandon Ayuk. I like JSN. I like Ayuk too. You guys know I was talking about Ayuk being a buy this offseason, but I'm still leading on the JSN side. And a JSN for DJ Moore. JSN to me. Here's the thing, though. With all of these deals, I think you can get plus added onto JSN side. And anytime I can get a guy like talented as JSN plus something in that asset, that's where I'm going. I expect an improved, volume, receptions. I think he could be the wide receiver one of that team. I think they're going to upgrade their offensive identity, and I think JSN is going to be a big part of that. So appreciate you guys tuning in to Dynasty Trades. I love doing this stuff. I love talking about trades because this is the best part about Dynasty. Let me know in the comments if you have any Dynasty trade questions, you have any questions about any of the guys I listed or any trades there, or if you think one of these things is crazy, let me know. I love to argue with you about it. So appreciate you guys. I'll check you guys next time.